Welcome to Hatters Sports Network. I'm Kaylee Melville.
And I'm Kayla Johnson, and today we have a very special guest discussing with us a very interesting topic. So don't move, it's all coming up right now. So last week we discussed that we are going to start a new segment on the show called Hot Topics. And today's hot topic is, should college athletes get paid or not? In today's guest spot, we have our own Shanasa Sanders from the women's basketball team debating against our own Kaylee Melville. So what is it, ladies? Should college athletes get paid or not? Shanasa, you can start.
Okay. I believe college athletes should get paid. For one, college athletes, they really don't have the time to work, i.e. the summer, June or July. I guess jobs really don't want to hire you only for 2 months, so limited time to work. So also, with the hectic schedule, class schedule, and basketball, still don't have time to work. So
I would definitely agree with that. Being a fellow college athlete, I don't have time to myself either. But during the summer is where I make the most money in those 2 months. There are several places that would hire you, but it is really hard to get a job. But for me, this is our job, and we're getting paid lots of money to play our sport. Play something that we love, but that money, like Shanasa said, it's not going into our pocket, it's going into our school. So
That is true, but I do want to add, being a college athlete on your resume looks really good. Mm-hmm. So not working all 4 years, you get out to the workforce and people see that on your resume and they're like, oh, this girl, is dedicated, she's committed, she works hard. Do you think that makes up for not working?
Yes and no. Okay. Basically, there are some college athletes that they do internships, I guess on campus, off campus, and then some college athletes don't have the time to do an internship that helps them, in the workforce. So it's really hard, to basically, like I said, find a job during the season and stuff.
Yeah. What about you?
As for me, you mentioned, do you mean more we'll be making up that money after we graduate?
Yeah.
For us, I would have to probably take Shanasa's side on this and disagree with that because during our 4 years, even if I graduate and I have the fact that I am a college athlete on my application, if you and I are taking a class and I had an away game, I was on a 10-hour bus ride to Tennessee, my team is screaming and laughing because they don't have homework and we're watching a movie, so I didn't get my study time in, but you had all day to study, we come back, you do better on the test, you get a better GPA than I do, so at the end of the day, you graduate with a better GPA, we graduate with the same degree, but at the end of the day, is an employer going to want someone who's has a higher GPA and who has studied and is prepared, or the collegiate athlete who had to balance those things? So it's going to definitely come down to, who hires you and,
Yeah. Well, I know before we even started filming, you were saying that, big schools should get paid and small schools like Stetson shouldn't pay their college athletes. But I know FGCU is a small school, but they beat big schools. Last year, the women's basketball team, they beat Virginia Tech, they beat Hawaii, Michigan State. They only lost to NC State, I think, by 5 points. So with them being a small school, should they pay their athletes since they're actually pretty good?
How I see it is it's not necessarily a big school, a small school divide. Even here at Stetson, our women's basketball team balls up every year. They end up playing big-time schools. Our men's team beat Wake Forest. Our sand volleyball team plays USC, UCLA, FSU. We all play big schools, but for me, it's if the school is using you as advertising, you should get paid. You shouldn't be getting paid just because you're an athlete. So for, we were talking before we filmed, an example would be Tim Tebow. He was an advertising tool for the University of Florida.
Right.
And that school gained a ton of money because of him. And for him to not get a cut of that is just not fair to him.
Yeah.
So.
What do you think?
Well, you know the NCAA passed. I guess they're about to pass something where they pay like the big schools, you know, the athletes money because of the revenue that's coming in from basketball, women's and men's, and football. So with that being said, I guess like you said, with mid-majors such as Stetson, Florida Gulf Coast. I mean, like you said, if they're doing good, revenue's coming in. Yes, we should be paid. So.
Okay, one last question before we go. So if we're going to pay these big schools, what if they have bad teams? Say the football team's really good, but their swimming team is off or they're not as good. Should they only pay the football team and not the swim team? How do you make it fair?
I believe we could divide it, really. I mean, like at the big schools, let's say the number one team in the country, Alabama, I believe the revenue they bring in from football, it would cover like the other sports. So it would be like.
So they should share.
Yeah, share the revenue. Like for instance, Stetson will have football next year. If they're good and they're bringing in revenue, why not share? If the women's teams, like men's and women's basketball teams are good, yeah, share the revenue.
I definitely agree with her, and even on a smaller scale, you can see it here at Stetson. Our men's basketball team brings in 3-4 times the amount of fans that our women's basketball team does.
Yeah.
And their record is
true.
worse than the women's. I mean, not to bash the boys, but the women,
true.
I mean, my freshman year, the women dominated. And there was still, your guys' stands was filled maybe one game.
Right. Yeah.
And so the men are bringing in more revenue, even though they're not the ones winning, just because more people are willing to go watch men's basketball.
Yeah.
So the women shouldn't be, not compensated because people don't want to go watch women's basketball. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that was a great debate. I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Shanasa, for being here. Here are a list of upcoming games going on this week, so make sure you go out and support your Hatters. That was a good little discussion we had.
Yeah, it was.
I enjoyed it very much.
Me too. And to wrap up our show this week, we wanted to give a shout out to the Athlete of the Week, Diana Bukajeva from the Stetson women's tennis team. She was up at the College of Charleston on Sunday, and she secured her championship in the A2 singles draw. Nicely done, Diana.
Nicely done, Diana. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram, like us on Facebook, and email us at hattersportsnetwork@gmail.com. I find myself repeating that a lot, but don't forget to do it. And let us know if you want to nominate an Athlete of the Week. So don't forget to do that.
Or if you want to see Kayla do some crazy things.
I'm still waiting to dunk that basketball.
We'll see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.